Today we're in section 3.2. We are adding and subtracting linear expressions. Okay, sounds fancy. It's not too bad once we start breaking it down. All right, so one thing that I want you to do, and we're going to practice doing at least for now, is we are going to rearrange these to group our like terms together. All right, so let's look at the first problem. We have x minus 2 plus 3x plus 8. So we need our like terms together. Do you see a term, y'all can just tell me, that is like x? 3x. Is 3x positive or negative? So I'm going to write a plus sign. And I know if it's just an x with nothing in front of it, what is understood to be in front of it? A 1. You might want to write that until you're in the habit of just remembering that there's a 1 there. That's not a 0. Okay? So now let's group our other terms together. We have a negative 2. Why negative? Because there's a minus sign in front of it. So when I rewrite it, when I'm grouping it, I need to make sure I keep it negative. And then what's the other term that would go with negative 2? 8. Positive 8, right? So it's going to be a plus 8. So now I can simplify what's inside the parentheses. What's 1x plus 3x? 4x. 4x. And what's negative 2 plus 8? 6. See that 6 is positive. Yes. So that's why I write a plus 6. Every term has to have a sign in front of it. So if you simplify numbers together and it's positive, you're going to write a plus sign. If you simplify them and the answer is negative, you're going to write a minus sign. Okay? So that goes hand in hand. All right. I want you to try this next one on your own. Be careful. Okay? Be careful to combine your like terms and to keep the sign that was in front of the original term. Go ahead and do the next one to the right. Okay, so did you group, we go negative 4y plus 11y? Yes. And did you do 3 minus 5? Yes. Okay, so hopefully you got your sign right on that one. What's negative 4 plus 11? Y. 7y. What's 3 minus 5? Negative 2. So that's why I put a minus sign there. Don't say plus negative. Just, you said the answer was negative 2, so I write a minus 2. Okay, so we're trying to get in that habit. All right, let's look at the next one down. All right, the thing that's different about this next one is the first term here is a number. This one's a variable. So I can't just say, oh, I grouped my first terms together because they're not like. What term is like 4.5? 6.5, and that was positive. Okay, plus negative 1n. Wait a second, I thought it was just negative n. It's the same thing, right? Minus 10n. So we have to make sure we get our signs right. Okay, 4.5 plus 6.5 is 11. What's negative 1n minus 10n? Yes, I'm hearing negative 9 and I'm hearing negative 11. Is this same sign or different? Same sign. Add and keep. Negative. So 1 plus 10 is 11. Negative 11n. Add and keep, guys. 1 plus 10 and keep the negative. Negative 11n. All right, so the last one has a fraction with the variable, okay? So they're testing you on combining like terms, but also what has to happen before you can add fractions together? What do you have to have? An LCD, okay? So I group the 1/2 W plus the 1/4 W, but I need an LCD before I can add them. Plus negative 3 plus 3. All right. Does anybody know what my LCD would be for the first one, for my fractions? What's my LCD? Hopefully more hands are going up because everybody knows. Hadley, what's my LCD? 4. Yes, it is 4. So my first fraction would change to 2/4. So we're just going to kind of cancel that out, make it a 2/4 W. What's 2/4 plus 1/4? 3/4 W cannot be reduced. And what's negative 3 plus 3? 0. You can say plus 0. That's not wrong. Okay? Or you can just say nothing because 0 cancels out. So now we have to look at subtracting linear expressions. And there's a rule. The why. Okay, so I'm all about like knowing why, right? Okay, why is this the way that it is? If I can understand why, it helps make things make sense a little more. Are you with me? Okay, so there is a rule here that I'm going to teach you. The why is not going to fully make sense until I teach you 3.3. Okay, so that's kind of sad because we have to kind of hold on the why. But here's my rule, okay? My rule says if I am subtracting a group of terms, okay, so you see how this subtraction sign is in front of the group, okay? When that happens, my rule says, and I promise there is a method to the madness, there's a reason I do this, okay? My rule says I can make this an addition sign. I'm going to reverse the operation. And when I make this sign an addition sign, it's going to change the sign of every term inside the parentheses. So now instead of it being negative 2x plus 6, I make it a positive 2x and a negative 6. I do the opposite sign of everything inside that group, okay? So I change the subtraction to addition, and I reverse the sign of everything in the group after. It does not affect the first group at all, okay? If there was a minus sign out here in front of the first group, then it would. All right, so here we go. We're going to rewrite it now, but you have to change your signs before you group them together. So now it's 5x plus 2x. You see how we're doing that? Plus 6 minus 6. So what's 5x plus 2x? 7x. What's 6 minus 6? And since it's 0, I don't even have to write it. Okay? All right, be careful. I want you to do the next one. Remember what we said. Change the subtraction to what? Addition, and reverse the sign of both terms inside. Then group them together. All right, I'm going to walk around and check on you guys. Okay, so I need to group my like terms together, but before I do that, I must do the addition. And now this becomes negative 8y plus 6. Did you guys reverse your signs? Okay, so now when I group them, it's 7y minus 8y plus 5 plus 6. Okay, well, what's 7y minus 8y? Negative 1y. Okay, plus 11. All right, did anybody get it? Anybody get it right? Okay, that's great. Now, I had a lot of really common mistakes. I saw a lot of 15y's. So if you were one that said 15y, you're not alone. Okay, but remember you have to reverse that sign before you simplify. Okay, let's do the next one now. Go ahead and do the next one on your own, this bottom left one. Go ahead and do that one, please. All right, so we have, guys, change this on your paper. So many of you are already trying to do this in your head, and I promise you it's going to lead to mistakes. Changes to a positive. This now becomes positive m minus 12. M minus 12. So now group them. M plus negative 3 minus 12. So now, same sign, 2m minus 15. Now, if you said negative 15 plus 2m, that is also correct. All right, let's look at the last one now. Just because there are 3 set of terms, guys, and this is where you're going to run into problems. You're trying to do this in your head, and it becomes a lot longer. You're going to lose your spot. All right, so rewrite this, changing your signs. That's what I would do first. Okay, so we have 1 minus 3x plus, you're changing the minus to a plus. And what happens when you change it to a plus? Change your signs. So now it's plus negative 3.5x minus 8. You see what I did there? I changed my negative. Hold on. I changed my negative. I'm trying to unplug here. Change my negative to a positive, and I reverse my signs. I'm going to do that again. Plus negative 0.5x minus 2. See what I did there? Now group your like terms together. All right, there's a little too much talking going on, guys. Okay, so now I group all my x's together, group all my numbers together. Doesn't matter which one comes first. 1 minus 8 minus 2 plus negative 3x minus 3.5x minus 0.5x. Just watch your signs, guys. So what I like to do, I do my same sign first. What's negative 8 minus 2? Negative 10. What's 1 minus 10? Negative 9. Okay, so there, my numbers are done. Now, what do you think is going to be easier to do on my x's? Yes. Add your decimals, because 3.5 plus half is what? 4. Negative 4. So negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7x. You say, well, that was a little fast, and I could have gotten it if I, had more time. That's great, okay? That's good. I'm just trying to show you the steps. It's okay if you didn't solve it ahead of me, okay? We're just kind of working through these examples together right now, all right? And hopefully we'll have time in a minute to work on homework. Okay, let's move on to the next example. All right, here we have a triangle. Now, your homework question, this is number 28 on your homework, is a little different than this, but it is the same concept. I need someone to raise their hand and tell me, what is the formula to find the perimeter of a triangle? What's the formula? Raise your hand to tell me, Samuel.
Is it A plus B?
Yes. And what does that mean, guys? That means add all the sides together. A plus B plus C, okay? So perimeter equals, I'm just going to add each side. 3m minus 2 plus 2m plus 7. Just adding my sides together. Plus 5m minus 2. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the first two examples, which is what? And I'm going to write this step, right, guys? I'm looking at a few people in particular who aren't showing their work. You're going to write this step, right? Rearrange your like terms. Say, I can do it in my head. I believe you, but I want you to write it. 3m plus 2m plus 5m. Add your m's and add your numbers. Negative 2 plus 7 minus 2. All right, what's 3 plus 2 plus 5, guys?
10.
P equals 10m. Negative 2 plus 7? 5 minus 2 is 3. You're fine, you're fine. Okay, and that's my whole answer. I don't know what the label is, so I just say units. That's my perimeter. You say, well, that looks weird because that's not an actual value. You're right, because you don't know what m equals. All right, and that's what makes example 4 a challenge. All right, so example 4 is challenging because we think we need to have a dollar amount here, but we're not going to because we don't know the cost. All right, they're leaving it a variable, which to me is a little frustrating. I get what they're doing here. It's not my favorite example, but we're going to get through it. Okay, a skateboard kit cost what? What does a skateboard kit cost? So they don't tell us. They say maybe the prices fluctuate. I don't know. Okay, but it costs $D. All right, and you have a coupon for $2 off each kit. After assembly, you sell each skateboard for 2D minus 4. Okay, that's the formula. You would multiply 2 times the amount you paid for the kit and subtract 4. So find and interpret your profit on each skateboard sold. Here's a couple things I need you to take away from this. I don't need you to come out of this example and say, oh, I could totally do this, a problem just like this right now, okay? Because it's going to get a little confusing, and just realize that that's not a terrible thing if you're confused, because a lot of people will be. Here's what I need you to understand. What you are trying to find, what is your end amount, or the end, I'm trying not to say the word, that you're trying to find. What is it asking you to find? Find and interpret. I just gave you the answer and I was trying not to. Profit. That's the end result. That's what everything needs to equal, is your profit. Okay, you need to write this down. The profit will equal how much you sold it for. Okay, so the selling price. But if you sold it for $200, did you make $200? No, because then you have to subtract your cost. Right? How much you paid. All right? So that is what we call a verbal model. If you can put together a verbal model, some of this other stuff is not as much of a concern to me, because I know that it's difficult. Here's why this problem's difficult. Because they don't give me a value for dollars. Okay? But, again, we're just going to go with it. So profit equals P, what I'm trying to solve, equals, they told me that I sold each skateboard for what? 2D minus 4. 2 times the kit minus $4. So that's what I'm going to write here. 2D minus 4. That's my selling price. Again, I can put whatever cost for the kit I want in there because I don't know what D equals. But then I have to subtract my cost. I bought a kit. D. D stands for the kit. But then I saved $2 with my coupon. Again, you might think, you just told me that, but that would be very difficult for me to come up with on my own. That's okay, because I'm not going to ask you to do it for another week, and you will be better at these in a week, I promise. Okay? But what happens when there's a minus sign in front of a set of terms? You got to make it a what, guys? Make it addition. Now D is negative and 2 is positive. Okay? Now let's combine our like terms. So profit equals, what's 2D minus D? Minus 1D. What's 2 minus 1?
3D.
1D. You're subtracting. What's negative 4 plus 2?
Negative 2.
Yes, negative 2. Okay? So your profit is the cost of the kit minus $2. Okay? So let's say the kit cost $100. Okay? Based on this formula, if the kit cost $100, you made $98. Okay? If the kit cost $200, then you made $198. All right? And again, I wish we had more time to really dig into this, but if you can set this up, here's where I want you to get. If you can set up a problem based on a verbal model, then we're getting somewhere, because you can look at any scenario and you can start setting it up. Where does it start? You have to figure out what is your end goal. What is your end result? In this problem, it was finding the profit. Can you at least meet me there? Okay? Can you understand that? Then we're making progress. Okay? All right, so we're going to start looking at your homework questions. You do not have a homework question like this question. Okay, that would be number 30, which we're not going to do. We'll do that one together tomorrow in class. Again, just to kind of work together to reinforce this, but I don't want you going home and just being totally lost and confused. Okay? All right, guys, so that's everything for 3.2.